Hello, welcome to Mal and Nat's Sister Chat podcast. Today we are reviewing another podcast by the Diary of a CEO guy whose name escapes me, but that's the name of
Anyone
his
knows me.
that's the name of his podcast, Diary of a CEO, and he interviewed a guy named Chase Hughes about it's kind of like emotional intelligence again. I guess we're on to that theme. It's about
Like
being
body language.
persuasive and body language and how to read somebody, and it kind of relates to sales, but it really is like all about relationships, just anything, like any kind of interaction you have. What are we picking up on from people? What are we saying with our body language? Anyway, the reason he's so qualified for this is because he works in intelligence, like in governments, to help train their agents on persuasion techniques. And I think interrogation, I would hate to be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure he participates in that in some way too.
Sounded like it. But...
Yeah. And he's not like abrasive, like, you'll tell me your info. He's more about like making people feel comfortable and then weaseling information out of them. And it's like, it's kind of creepy, but if you think about it more in you want to make people who you're not trying to like sell them something or steal their money, but you're trying to persuade them and you really do believe you have something good for them, then this is a good tactic. It's like it's all about trying to get into the comfort zone with them or whatever, and how you can do that. So yeah, do you have some thoughts on it to
Let's see my phone. I took some notes here. Just a second, sorry. Okay, so I feel like I've always felt like the way you raise kids is similar to like how you train dogs.
Yeah.
And so he was talking about like how you train dogs is you focus, or you do 5 things. Let's see, no, 4 things. So you get them to focus, you use authority, get them to be a part of a tribe, and then you use emotion, like good job or whatever. So he gave an example of like get their attention, tell them what to do, like you're as the authority figure. I don't know how you would do that for a dog, like as a part of a tribe, but like.
Well, I think I was just thinking about that, the tribe thing. So I sold a puppy to a guy who like was really a dog whisperer or whatever, and he's like, I just keep my dogs with me from the time that they're puppies until they're like a year old. He's like, I never leave them. They sleep in my room. They come with me on vacation. They ride in my truck. He's like, they're just so then they kind of imprint on you and you become like their tribe. And then he's like, they will obey everything you say. If you allow them to be near you, they just want to please you. And I knew he was right because my dog was so hard to train until we changed her from being outdoor to an indoor. Cause she's like yours. She needs to be groomed. And when she gets really long, it like collects gross stuff from outside. And so I'd be like, oh, you can't come in my house. So we finally just started grooming her like often so that she never got long. Anyway, it changed her whole personality because she is with us all the time now and she's so obedient. So I think
that is interesting.
Yeah, I think there's truth to that.
But and then you follow up with the emotion of like good dog or like good job or whatever.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting because it relates so well to kids. And anyway, as a full-time parent, that could be helpful.
Yeah, I think so. I was thinking about like we had a counselor tell us one time that we were like, well, we have a kid who's given us trouble, which is really funny because looking back now, that's our kid that's no trouble right now. I think he was just going through a stage because now we have a totally different kid acting exactly how he did, kind of standoffish, testing all the rules, like everything is a fight, and I just keep being like, gosh, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? Anyway, we asked her about it. She said, you need to do the 10-20-10 rule. Did you talk to her about that too? Because we shared.
I remember you telling me though.
Anyway, so she's like 10 minutes of one-on-one time in the morning, 20 in the afternoon, and 10 at night. She's like, sounds crazy. Like that's so much, especially if we have 5 kids. So, but she's like, if you'll do that, you'll watch their behavior change almost overnight. And we did it. And
information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. She was right.
Like, so bad battling right now. And I'm like, I know it's me because I know I'm the adult, but I don't know. Like, you get too close to the problem that you can't fix it. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to do.
Well, and like the solution's usually counterintuitive, at least for me. So when she's like,
Yeah.
spend more time with this child you want to strangle, you're like, oh, okay, yay, you know? But
Yeah.
truly, when we did, almost within probably 3 days, he was a completely different kid. And we
I
were
believe that.
like, okay, like he just
I
was
believe
asking
that.
for attention. Yeah.
I think, yeah, I think like subconsciously I'm like, I don't want to favor
Yeah.
one kid over
Yeah.
the other. So I'm like, because you are acting out and trying to get
You're
attention,
not
and
going to
then
be
now you're being
rewarded for it.
treated with that
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah.
It makes me like, I don't want to
Yeah.
do that. And not that I don't give her attention, because I do.
No,
I
you
try
do.
and give her special time, but yeah, I think putting her aside specifically makes it's hard for me to want to do
It
that.
is. It kind of, like you said, that goes against all
Yeah.
your instinct. You're just
Yeah.
like, are you sure this is what we should do? Because he's kind of a turd. But
I'm at a point
yeah,
where I'm like, I'm desperate and I'll do anything, and I'm like, I'm 100% gonna
I was just like, even telling you, I'm like, I know all the tricks. I haven't been applying it to this kid that's giving us trouble. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's what we're going to do. And yeah,
Yeah.
I told Corey, I was like, it's like to the point where I'm not even enjoying being around this child. And like, I love my kids, you know, so I feel really guilty about that. But they're just really demanding, and
Uh-huh.
it's gotten hard to be in their presence. And so anyway, so and there's also phases too, because yours who's give you troubles 9, 10, like thereabouts.
Yeah, I mean, this one is always giving me trouble.
Sure, that's true. That's not really phase with her, maybe, but
I would say right now it's stronger than it has been in a while.
okay.
So, and she's about 8, so
Yeah,
almost 9.
yeah, because I was like, it's about 9 that we noticed it, and now he's almost 10, and we're just like, oh, okay. But what's hilarious, because I get in the, like you said, so close to it that I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? I'm the worst parent ever, and they're struggling. And last time I asked a counselor, it was my other kid who's totally fine now. So it is just a phase too. There's two parts to
Well,
that. But
yeah, and like it makes it sound like I don't know, I single out this kid. All of my kids have different things that are difficult about them. Like, I text you guys all the time. I'm like, this kid like won't talk to me, or this kid, you know, there's always like something. They just act out in different ways.
Sure.
And some of them, and like a lot of them, like if they are very similar to me, I know how to solve it. Like, I'm like, oh, okay, like this
right.
is. I don't understand that personality type. I'm just like, why won't you? You know. Anyway,
It's so funny.
yeah, it takes an outside perspective to be like, okay, thank you. I just needed that like smack across the face. Like, I can.
No, this was like a wake up call to me too, because I knew that information. I haven't applied it all, and I'm like, oh, voila, light bulb. That's what he needs.
And it's so like obvious. Like I said, it feels wrong when you're like, I don't know,
not
battling
only
it.
that, yeah, it does. It feels like I'm not going to reward you, but also to me, it felt like insurmountable need. Like if I start to give you attention, where's the stopping point? Like you're going to want it no matter if I give you an hour or 10 minutes. It's never enough for this kid. And that's what's so frustrating for me is I'm like, I did spend time with you. Like I don't understand why you need me so much, you know, but it's and she did say, she's like, do whatever they want. Obviously nothing, you know, she's like, no electronics. She did say that, but like if they want to read to them. If she's like, their body and stuff knows what they're needing, so if it's to cuddle you, if it's whatever, let them do it. And so I was like, okay. So yeah, so I think to me it was like, this gives me like a little formula, where before I'm like, I know he needs attention, but like how much and what's too much. And
almost like you need it written out. You're just like, I don't know where the line is. And
and I think both our kids, because I know yours and you know mine, they're not awful. They're just going through this phase where it's like you're not like quite syncing up with the family rhythm here. Like what's going on? You know?
Well, yeah, and there's certain kids that battle your personality specifically for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And so
anyway. Well, Corey told me that I have like obvious disgust for this child's behavior. And he's like, and he can tell, like he knows when you're disgusted with him, and he's like, and it's making him more desperate for your approval. And so then he's like striving, and Corey knows because he actually shares personalities with this kid. So he's always, he's always like, that's not how you do it. And I'm like, I know, I'm sorry. Anyway.
Why is parenting so hard?
Well, and you know what? It's just not too late either. Like it doesn't matter. Even if they get to adulthood with scars, you can always be like, I'm so sorry that I did that to you, or like,
I just want to say, like, my favorite part of that whole podcast was when he said, "Get like ridiculous with how forgiving you are to yourself." It almost made me cry. Like, in fact, don't look at me, but like, I'm really hard on myself, and so like, I'm just don't look at me.
It's fine. Just cry. I cry on this podcast all the time.
Anyway, just when he was like, "Forgive yourself like every single day," and to the point where it's like almost ridiculous. Like, he's like, even if you did something that's like crazy, just keep forgiving and forgiving, and you're gonna get to a point where your future is like exciting and you're like willing to, move forward instead of constantly stuck in the past. Like, it's really hard for me to forgive myself. Like, I'm like, if I make one mistake, I'm like, I am a bad mom. Like, that's my
identity.
Identify. Yeah. And so anyway, it was just really good for me to hear that. So
that is really awesome. That's okay. I love this podcast because it's like, it really is just us like having a private conversation that the whole world can see. Just to sit here, cry together, and like, I'm like looking back at.
Yeah,
I've had to post a bunch of them, and I'm like, oops, cried on that one. Yeah, it's hard not to. Yeah. It's fine.
Yeah.
Makes you so relatable. Sorry.
Copy first.
I'm like, hold on. And I'm just kidding.
Anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say about that. What was it? Oh, just that, like, what's interesting about that, I feel like I notice is like people like you, and I know Dad has said this before too, that he's so hard on himself, and I know we have like in-laws that are that way, and like just family members that's their personalities. They're always the most like high accomplishing. They have great kids, they have good marriages, they have like, and not that everyone's perfect and everything in their life is, perfect, but they've got pretty much all their crap together because they're trying so hard all the time. And I'm like, and they're the ones who are just like, I'm never enough. And like us on the outside are like, if you're not enough, I'm going to hell. Okay. Yeah. So I'm like, that's just interesting that with that blessing comes the curse of like, you can't like accept it. It's just like the effort is not enough. I don't know. It can become that. It can become that through habit forming, but it's harder for you. Yeah.
My husband he's a very kind person. We have a really great relationship. We're not perfect by any means, but we've got a good relationship, and he's a kind guy. But for whatever reason, I had written this story in my head that he thought that I was like a horrible mom. Like, I just was like I just thought that he thought that. And I brought it up to him before, and he's like, I don't think that. He's a guy, and he's not very forthwith with like,
right.
And like, you know what I mean?
Of course I don't think that. Here's all the good things. Yeah.
He's not constantly like, you did this well and this. He's just like, I assume you knew, like, you're doing good, like, anyway. And that's like literally probably his only sin in that regard. Like, he's not beating me up about it. He's not rude about it. He just like isn't very like, you're doing a good job.
Yes.
Anyway, and so like in my mind, I was like, he thinks I'm awful. So like I constantly was like, it's almost like my goal every day was to prove to him that I was a good mom. Mm-hmm. So it was like, I just need to like, and because that's like first of all, it was made up because he wasn't even thinking that. Second of all, like, meeting someone's expectations isn't healthy. It just was like creating this constant like cycle of I would not meet the expectation all the time. Like, anyway, so then it's just going to sound awful. I don't know. Anyway, so he went on vacation, not on vacation. He went to, it's not vacation at all. He went to go work on this house. And anyway, he's out of town. And, like almost the minute he left,
you felt relieved.
I was like, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not a bad mom.
Yeah.
And like, I started like seeing proofs of that. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, like I do this well and I do this well. And okay, again, like this is making him sound, he doesn't point out.
I actually relate with this. I'll share my own things.
Yeah. Anyway, but it just was like, I was like, oh, and so for the first time I wrote down in my journal, like, I am a good mom, and I actually believed it. And I was like, and I just started bawling because I was like, it's been like years since I believed that. Like, I just didn't, like, I really thought I was awful. Anyway, and it was really interesting, but like, I think what was interesting was I needed to believe it for myself. I had to stop relying on his opinion and like his like idea of me, even though it wasn't even bad. I just had created this idea in my head, like perfection, and I wasn't reaching it. And so, anyway, that's kind of just a really interesting psychological thing. I even called him and told him about it. And I was like, don't feel bad, but like the minute you left,
I was happier.
it's not like that. I missed him so much, but he was like, no, like I'm glad you shared that with me. You know, like anyway. Again, I hope that didn't come across like he's
No, it
awful.
doesn't.
He's really,
It doesn't.
yeah.
I think it's very relatable for two reasons. One, I think like marriage is like that marriage book I read called I can't remember. I almost hate to recommend it on here because it's very spicy, but it there's like weird sex scenes in it that were weird to me. But it's so good. Other than that, like psychology is so good in it, and I can't remember what it is. Passionate Marriage. It's called The Passionate Marriage. So if you can skip through the spice or you don't mind the spice, it's a good book. But but anyway, he talks about how marriage is the best. Calls it like the best dueling ground, something like that. And
Mhm.
and he's like, and marriage partners make the best dueling partners. So like you're always going to be pushed by your spouse. You're always going to be seen from the outside perspective. You're always going to, so if it's really comfortable all the time and you just feel worshipped all the time, your spouse is probably lying to you, or it's unhealthy where they're like really codependent on you in some way, or
Mhm.
because I'm not saying there should be conflict and contention all the time, but there should be challenge. I think you should be challenging each other all the time.
Yeah.
So it to me feels like it would be kind of natural that when you're not with your spouse for a minute, you would be like, oh, and then obviously, you miss him. Because Corey and I talk about this all the time. If he's gone or we're apart for more than like 3 days, the first day we're both like stoked. We're like, yay!
Yeah.
Like
It's always for a couple days. You can spread out.
yeah, you kind of just
Whatever
like
you want.
do
Yeah.
whatever you want without like someone else's disapproval or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is because like we all do things that the other one's kind of like, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so which is good most of the time. But anyway, those first couple days, yeah, you're just like, this is amazing. And then after,
Mhm.
we're always like, I prefer
No,
the
it always
battleground. I want you to come back. Yeah,
it takes about 3 days, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I
yeah,
want you back.
yeah. I miss you, and
Yeah.
I like all those things. But I don't think that it's unhealthy or abnormal to feel that relief when your spouse is gone for a minute because of that. Like we're just always challenging each other. You should be.
Well, yeah, and I was gonna say it's not even. I mean, it is that he's my spouse. I care what he thinks immensely, obviously, or I wouldn't have had this breakthrough or whatever.
Right.
But it's just having somebody that lives with you and sees all of your ugly moments all the time. It's just like, I mean, if you lived with me and like, I would really care what you thought about my parenting because it's like you see it, you see it all the time.
Yeah.
So then it's like
it's different when it's your sexual partner, though. There's there's different need for approval there that's different than even a sister or a friend.
Yeah. Anyway, so just kind of interesting, but it just was an awakening that I needed to draw on myself and stop waiting for like this. I don't know, like almost like a prince in armor to like tell me that I'm amazing,
Yeah.
Oh, like I can decide to be a good mom, and it's okay. And like I kind of saw my kids' future of like we're still good friends, and that like I just always pictured like they would hate me and like they're just gonna leave and they're gonna like all this resentment, and like and maybe they will have a little bit. I'm sure like you can't escape it without a little bit, but I don't know.
But anyway, at the end of the day, like no matter how your parents' parents, there are very few people who just loathe their own parents. You know what I mean? Like to the point where they're like, I don't even want to be around you anymore.
Yeah, it has to be some serious
has to be
trauma.
like some serious abuse or something. But as far as like quirks and stuff go, it's almost like you wouldn't take them without them. Like you're just like, that's just who you are. I don't know.
Well, it's almost like the older you get, you're like start to take on their quirks, and you're like, I can see why you do that.
It's so true. I have to love you because I am you. Oh, it's so true. That's funny. But yeah, I was just thinking about that, like with my own parents. I'm like, yeah, I just can't help but look back at our childhood, and we talk about this all the time, and be so grateful and just the older you get, the more you realize how much they sacrificed. And I don't know. If those are the sentiments we're having, our kids will too. They'll recognize our weaknesses and our quirks, but they will also love us. There's a song, I might not have sent it to you, by the guy who sings "You're Beautiful." You know that guy?
Yes, I do.
Anyway, there's only one voice like his. He sings a song about his dad that made me bawl, like ugly bawl. I'll have to send it to you because you know, there's tons of songs that are like touching about dads, and I love you so much. You're
I
amazing.
always cry about dad songs. I
Yeah,
don't know why, because we had a really good
we
one.
had a
So
really
I'm
good
always just like,
dad. He's not dead.
I
We
know.
had in the
We always
past
talk about
a
my dad like this.
wonderful father. May he rest in peace. I'm just kidding.
He's
Uh,
like,
anyway,
I'm
yeah, we still have a dad, but he it was so cute. It's like the theme of the song is like I don't care what your mistakes are. I don't need to forgive you of anything. You're just my dad and I love you, basically. So it wasn't like you were perfect, you were the best.
yeah,
It was like you weren't perfect and I still accept you and loved you. And I don't know, that just made me like bawl my eyes out. Yeah, it's so cute. Anyway,
yeah.
wish I
Well,
could remember what it's
you just
called.
start to realize too, like just how amazing your parents were.
Yeah,
Like if you had parents that loved you and tried, basically, that's pretty much the only thing.
yeah,
Because you start to get all the same things that they had as far as like kids and a life and a mortgage and all the stressful things that come with it, and you're like, holy crap! Like he came home and still played with us after work when he was
yeah.
exhausted, and my mom still cooked for us even though she didn't like cooking, and like
Yep.
there's just like all these things that you're
Lots of
like, oh, like she
sacrifice.
was
Yeah.
struggling like mentally, and she still put in the effort to do this for all 9 kids. Sorry, we're so whiny
I
today.
know. Why are we so cryy? I bet it's that time of the month for
I
real
miss
not to
my
do the
husband.
podcast.
He's out of town. Anyway.
Well, I was just
um,
thinking about like I was like, speaking of getting personal, I'm like, I'm gonna top you and tell more personal stories. Just kidding. I
sorry.
was gonna tell personal stories. We just try and outdo each other till it gets so awkward. Let's do that. Let's play that game. Just kidding.
Everyone's just like cringing out of the room.
Okay, Jan and Michael, let's get out of here. I was just thinking about the most horrible story. I also don't even want to share it. It's embarrassing to me, but it's like it's mom and dad. It's a good
Mhm.
like uh display of who they are. Anyway, okay. Were you done telling your thing?
I'm done. Mhm.
So when I was like after I got married, I made a stupid comment, something like um I got braces like as a teenager. I had really, really jacked up teeth. And then I got braces and I was so excited about them. And I didn't wear my retainer after I got married because it made me feel not sexy to like pull it out of my mouth at night. And it kind of got me out of this habit. Anyway, it was a weird reason, but I stopped wearing it. And then my teeth got a little more crooked again. So I went and got like Invisalign again. This all relates, I promise. But anyway, I
And
and
then
then my cat died, and then so I said to mom, like as an adult, something like, "Yeah, I'm getting braces." Like something like the first time they didn't do a very good job, or like it wasn't even. I don't know why I said that. Like the place that I went wasn't good enough, or something stupid. Like very ungrateful and just stupid. I hate that I even said that. I don't know why I did. Anyway, and mom, very patiently, but just kind of like so I was aware, was like, oh, well, like just so you know, you do whatever you want. I'm not trying to embarrass you or whatever, but like I did save for that for like 3 years so that you could, uh, and I know, it like makes me cry thinking about it. I hate it. But I guess she had like put aside her own money for that, like stuff that she was used to spending so that I could have braces because they were so poor. And they were like, she's not getting married with those teeth. We gotta get her braces. I'm just kidding.
I
But
can't afford her anymore.
I guess she had made quite a lot of sacrifices so that I could do that. And I hate that so bad. I wish I could just like have my original retainer, like just to be like, my mom did this for me. Anyway, it's so dumb. It's such a dumb thing, but it meant a lot to me at the time. Like I needed it for my self-confidence and stuff. And I just I don't know. She never said that. She never said like, just so you know, Nat, we're saving this for your braces every day.
Yeah.
She just got them for me. And like, I don't know. You just don't know what your parents are doing for you. And it just made me feel really grateful for them and just bad, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
now
This is
I'm
kind of
crying.
all our regrets.
Now your
Every
turn to cry. Back and forth. I can't believe I just did that right after you. That's so dumb. I'm sorry.
That's not dumb. It's
Uh,
not dumb.
it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna cry? Me too. Uh, anyway,
We want to have a crying contest.
we're gonna have a cry fest. Anyway, it did just open my eyes a little, and I was like, just because they're not telling you and not like bragging about how amazing they were, doesn't mean they didn't sacrifice all the time. And
Yeah.
we're
Well,
gonna be
yeah,
softies in our old age. We talk about our parents
I
a lot
know.
on here.
Yeah, I'm sure there's stuff I still don't even know because sometimes I'll be like, I don't know. I'll like be telling Chancey a story about how we went somewhere or did something. I'm like, wait, why did they or how did they afford that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Just like adding up the pieces now that I'm an adult, I'm like, there's something I'm missing to the story.
Yeah. That's what was
Anyway,
missing. Yeah.
there's stuff that I'm sure that we don't even know about. So
Yeah.
anyway.
They were just cute. They put their family first, and I think we've watched that like just I don't know, we've had examples of that, not just them, but in our lives of people who all parent differently, but their kids were the most important thing to them. And at the end of the day, it kind of just irons out whatever's weird about you and whatever you mess up on. It's just they just have to know that they're important to you. That's all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about the um, forgiveness quote thing or whatever that guy said.
Yeah.
And he said if you couple it with I'm trying to say defensiveness, but that's not it. What's it called? Not determination. Discipline.
There
Yeah,
we
that's
go.
weird.
That's a good word.
Anyway, and he said his definition of discipline is basically sacrificing what you want now for your future self.
Yeah.
And then combining that with forgiving yourself constantly. That's basically what gets you
Where you need to be.
progress. Yeah, which I really liked. I'm like, okay, that makes sense because I feel like I've really got the discipline thing down.
Yeah.
And I'm constantly like putting what I want and even need off and for my future self to the point of just like making myself crazy. So I don't ever forgive myself. I'm like, no, like we got to keep moving and push and anyway. So
we're like the exact opposite, which is hilarious because I'm like, all the forgiveness in the world. It's okay, Nat. Keep trying. And then the discipline just like sucks. I'm like, okay, I could do this. I could do hard things. I like to work hard, but I really have a hard time putting off my impulses. That's always been a problem for me. So like if I want something, I want it. And I don't know. That's really, really hard for me. So that's my lifelong battle. But anyway,
I still
that's funny.
think that like at least mentally that mindset is better than mine.
I don't know. There's just pros and cons because, like I said, you're going to be very high accomplishing. You're going to be very fit. You're going to eat healthy. Like there's a lot of things that come with discipline that are going to benefit your body and your mind, and they're good. And I'm not saying I'm like a big nasty person, but I just like, yeah, I definitely lack discipline in all areas. I recognize that in myself. It took me a few years to realize that's what was going on, but I was like, oh, I just don't exercise self-discipline. Like I don't like to, and I've gotten used to not doing it. And so we've even talked about this, like even just showing up on time for things and stuff like that. I'm trying really hard because that's a self-discipline thing to do. So I'm like, oh, it's kind of nice to pin it because then you're like, okay, now I can actually fix it. I just thought I was like, I don't know what I thought. Like that's just me. I don't know. Yeah, but it's like it's actually something you can work on, I guess.
It's fixable. Yeah,
yes.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think the problem with having the mindset of only discipline and no forgiveness is, I mean, obviously it's a problem, but like one of the main ones for me is it's almost like a toxic positivity because it looks like you have so much going for you that
you're not happy with it.
For this thing that you have all the time, and it's like it's almost like feeding this like obsession, addiction almost. Yeah. And it makes the anxiety cycle just really high. So anyway, they're just it's anyway, I don't know how to word that, but it sounds like it's so hard to be
so hard to be perfect at everything. You don't understand. No, I get it. I totally get it.
In the curtain, I know when that I blow up all the time and I'm holding all this stuff in, and I'm like, I see all the ugly sides that nobody sees, and that's the the side effect of this toxic positivity sort of.
Right. And always like the goal is perfection over like happiness or accomplishment or whatever. It's like as long as it's perfect, which again, like I said, can lead to some really good things. But I think like my point in that though is like we're both or at least we're on both ends of the extreme. And I think both of us are trying really hard to just find this like
Yeah.
middle
Find a
spot. Yeah, because it's the
healthy middle
happiest place to be. So
ground.
yeah.
Yeah, I think you're.
What did you call it?
What?
What did you say?
Middle ground? I
Oh,
don't know.
okay. I thought you said something else. I'll have to tell you off camera what I thought you said.
No, you have to say it.
I will get
Yeah.
canceled for it.
You said it, then that means you have to
No,
say
you
it.
didn't. It's like literally something I can't say on air. I thought I'll have to tell you later.
Okay.
I was like, goodness, that's so bold. Okay, anyway, oh my.
Anyway, there's something I was gonna say on there that he said. Oh, I really love the like statement thing he's talking about. So like when you're trying to get somebody to open up about information, sensitive information, then you say statements rather than questions. So he's like, so if I told you, for example, so this is the expert guy talking to the podcaster. He said, if I told you to go to the grocery store and ask the employee how much she makes, and I want you to do it in under a minute, and I want you to not be awkward about it.
Like, he said you're not allowed to ask questions.
Yeah, no asking questions. Don't be awkward in under 1 minute. And he's like, well, I don't know. Anyway, so he's like, what you would do is you go and you make a statement. So he's like, you might say something like, can you tell me where the carrots are or something? And then be like, oh, by the way, I just heard that employees at Whole Foods are making $25 an hour. Like, that's amazing, you know? And the girl would be like, oh, no, I only make 17. And then he's like, oh, okay. So he got the information out of her because he made a statement that needed corrected. I thought that was really interesting.
So
I was like, how
interesting. Well, I was thinking that with the family group text right now, in our family, we're having like a genealogy debate, and it's not really a debate at all. It's just like goofy. But I was telling Corey, I was like, if I had actually gone in there and said like, this is Corey's opinion and me and him are disagreeing, like, you know, I don't think that Dad looks like this at all. Everyone would have jumped on what I wanted them to jump on. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, like they would have corrected me in the way I wanted them to think. Like, actually, he does look like this. You're wrong, you know. And so I was like, that's what's funny about this psychology is like when I stated that on the family group text, and I'm not blaming anyone because I'm the exact same way. I would have jumped on that like a rat on a Cheeto. Everyone wanted to correct me, like, no, this can't be right, and here's why.
Because it was a statement,
right? Is that why? Yes. So anytime we like make statements, even if it's just like, this is my opinion, we just have this, especially our family, I think, and me more than anyone, have this knee-jerk reaction to just correct the record, is what he says on there. Yeah. And so if you can use that and put a statement out there that you don't actually agree with, and you want them to correct it to the side you want them on, it can be a pretty good tactic to get people on your side. Yeah.
Well, I thought that was interesting because there's always like, I think where I wanted to use that was like, I feel like there's certain people that I want to, like, I know they're going through a hard time, but I don't know how to like approach them. So when they're going through a hard time, I kind of like avoid them because I'm like, I'm just going to make this more awkward. Like, let's not fester.
I somehow always make a sick person worse.
Really. So I kind of just like, I'll just wait till you're feeling better.
Tell me when you're better.
Not really. And like, I'm constantly thinking about him and praying for him and like all the things. I just am like so awkward with that kind of thing. So I love that because I was like, I think I could use that to where, you know, you bring up a statement to have them be able to share sensitive information. I don't know how that would come across. So like, let's do this. Let's do a scenario.
Okay. Let's role play. Let's
send your. I don't want it to be too sensitive. That'll be sad.
Careful about your next words.
I know. Oh my god, we're gonna start crying again.
Well, right. Like let's say like your spouse lost their job or something. Those are things I don't know how to talk about with people because I'm like, I know they feel awkward and I feel awkward. Yeah.
That's a good.
Yeah. So
what can you say that was like a statement that would get them to open up?
I don't know.
I'm so not good at this sort of thing.
I know. Well, I think it's a mindset shift. Because if you just went up to someone and said, are you okay? They'd be like, yeah, we're good. Like, do you guys need financial help? No, we're fine. Like, there would be no admissions at all. So it'd have to be more like, I think that's what I do is I'd be like, if we live in a small town. So I'd be like, hey, I heard that you guys are like back on your feet again. That's awesome. You know, I know that he had lost his job and I heard everything's going a lot better. And they'd be like, who told you that? No, this is not going well. And this is, I know it'd be a little uncomfortable, but if you needed to get them to open up, like they're going to correct
Yeah.
that record for sure. Like, do not let the rumor mill tell you that everything's good in our life because it's not, you know?
But what if that person's kind of shy and they're just like, yeah, like that's probably what I would do. Like if someone was, was like, I heard everything was going well and it wasn't, I'd be like, yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, that's probably true. I don't know. Let's see.
I know.
I heard your husband found another job. Like, no, he didn't. Like,
Oh no, yeah, you're right. That
something
would
like
work.
that. That's just like at least would give you some information. I don't know if that's how this is applied or not. But to me, if someone approached me like that, like I heard this, I would be much more inclined to give information if they're like, "Hey, how's everything going?" Be like, "Good, everything's great."
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything's
yeah. I don't. That's kind of like I don't know how safe you are. I don't know how much you want to know. I don't. It's too vague of a question. How's everything going is too vague. And I
yeah,
think there are lots of people who mean well when they say that. It's not like you're mad at them. It's just like how I don't know what you're really asking. It's kind of
yeah.
why that doesn't work, you know.
One time, I always feel bad about this moment because I think she meant really well, and I've been in that situation. She just went about it so awkwardly.
Oh no,
This girl I didn't know, she's a stranger, that's why I feel like I can talk about it. But she came
she's
up
gonna
to
tune in.
me. She came up to me, and we were in like a spiritual place, and she like so we were in the temple. Anyway, I don't know why I said it like that.
It's a secret. I can't even say the word anymore.
Anyway, she came up to me and like sat next to me and was like, I just felt like I should talk to you. And I was like, talk away. Go for
Is
it.
that what you felt like?
She just like looked at me like, now it's your turn to
Yeah,
talk.
the burden's on you to follow my spiritual prompting. You're like,
I was like, oh, cool. And I like didn't give her any, not even trying to be rude. I just was like, I got nothing.
yeah, like
like
that's your prompting. Go for it, girl. Yeah.
and she's like, so I just wanted you to know, and her eyes were like everywhere.
Oh no.
And that Jesus loves you. And she like left. And I was like, okay.
Wow, that's the
Anyway.
second time that's happened to you in your life.
Why did that happen to me before? Or is that the same story?
Someone gave you cash. Do you remember that?
Me, I'm poor.
Maybe you just have like a not damsel in distress, but like that she'd be fun to rescue. Like they think they'll get a high off it or something. Like you'd be like, thank you. I don't know.
I feel like I should share that story now.
Oh, it's so funny. I freaking love that story. Is that embarrassing to you?
No, I mean it was then, but it's not now.
That's hilarious.
Chancey and I have always been like, Jay Ramsey, like save money, whatever, pay cash for everything. So we paid cash for vehicles, took it to the extreme a little bit. Got this car in college we literally paid $200 for it, and it was like a piece of junk. It literally looked like a meth car. Like it was just so creepy looking. Like it was like paint chips everywhere, different colored doors. Like it was bad. Anyway, and we were like, we are living Dave Ramsey life. We don't care what people think, and like we just drove it everywhere. And kind of like in college, you kind of get away with that, but after we graduated
and had kids.
That thing ran like a dream. Like we kind of regretted selling it. I think Elijah still has it. Does he still?
I don't know. They're driving around Vegas. He's gonna get hit up for drugs.
I know. Well, I'm pretty sure he still has it, and it's got like 300,000 miles on it or something. Anyway, the thing won't die.
You just want to hang on to. It's sure.
It doesn't matter. Anyway, so we drove it like after college in our small town and stuff. And did I tell you that like one of the cops was like, he'd see me drive by and he'd be like, "Oh, it's a bust," and then he'd be like, "Oh, it's just Mallory."
No, that's hilarious.
Anyway, so that
like
wasn't
speed past cops and that.
But anyway, we were on a road trip in that car, and like I usually let like everything go on road trips. So like I looked like a mess. My kids looked like really messy,
like
and
me today.
The car was a mess. Like it was just gross. Like everything was gross. And we got out at Cafe Rio to get some food. And as we were going in, like I had babies, and like everyone looked like a mess, and our car was the way it was. This girl comes up to me. She goes, "I just really felt like I wanted to give this to you," and she had me a $20 bill like a homeless lady. Thank you. Like, I almost was like,
No,
thank you.
take it back. I'm actually really cute sometimes.
I was so embarrassed. I was like, Chancey, we're selling that car. I was so mad. And then I like gave it away like the first opportunity I had. There's like a whole
Oh, that
take money.
story is my favorite.
I was like, because like at the time, Chancey was making pretty good money. Like we were fine,
Yeah.
and it was just so embarrassing because I was like, well, okay. I mean, I guess I could see
I can
how I would.
understand. You need to just like own that and stand by it with a sign for 30 minutes a day. Just collect the cash, go home,
See what happens.
cash, all your kids on your hip. Be like, we're not homeless, we're just hard
Give
up.
that away.
We're trying to pay for our apartment.
And he's like, you could have just spent that on our Cafe Rio. Why'd you give it away? And I'm like, I don't.
Did you give it back to her? Oh, you went and gave it.
Well, I just gave it to somebody. I was like, that was like on the side of the road.
Yeah,
Like,
you gave it to someone who actually was homeless. That's good.
pay it forward. Also, I feel really awkward.
She's like, this was meant for you, I promise. They thought it was for me, but it's not.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Well, maybe the spirit prompted her because then God knew you'd give it away in embarrassment.
Yeah. Eventually, you would get to the right person.
Eventually, it'd go to the right homeless person.
I just knew that like that story was going to end up in Relief Society, like for sure.
Right.
Like, yeah.
I was
just
at Cafe Rio,
so...
and I was prompted to share. You know what, though? Again, honestly, if yeah, I actually do believe in those kind of promptings. I think sometimes we don't understand when they're being given, when they're not. But if that money really was meant to go to that homeless guy, maybe that's how it was supposed to. Who knows? You never know. Or maybe it was to get you to sell your meth car because it's like, hey, it's time.
That happened.
Someone needs to nudge you over this cliff. Just a little bit.
It really did. I was like, immediately, I was like, we're getting rid of this thing. I'm done. Like, oh, it's so embarrassing.
God's like, let me just give you a little taste to what perception is versus reality. Oh my gosh. I love it. That's such a funny story. I had cash given to me one time at a casino by a drunk lady. She gave me $100 bill.
Oh, nice.
It was amazing. Yeah. Best thing that ever happened to me. I tried to give it back to her and she would not take it, so I was like, sweet. Like, thank you.
In the slot machine.
You're right. I should have. No. Yeah, I think we went out to eat on it. We were like, that's awesome. It was so, well, we went to a casino with me. It was weird, but it was like, I had a baby with me, but we're just staying at the hotel. Corey had to for work or whatever. So all these people are partying, and this like very pretty, she looked like she was wealthy lady comes up to me with like, I mean, her skirt was like butt cheek high. Like it was so, I don't know. I loved her immediately. She like came up to me and she like had these heels on that were like this tall. And she's like, here you go, honey. Happy Mother's Day. And it looked like a 10. And I was like, oh no, you don't, it's okay. Like, go have fun with it. And she was like, no, you are a cute mom. And she's like, not all there. And I had like, you know, my little baby with me and I was like, thank you so much, you know? And she's like, yes. And her friends like, run away. And literally just like pranced, like everything. But then I opened it and I was like, oh, it was 100. I thought it was a 10. And I was like, go on, I spent $100. He's like, I'll leave you alone for 2 seconds and I come back. Yeah.
I wonder if she meant to give you that or if she meant to give you a 10.
Honestly, if I could have found her, I really would have been like, did you mean to like do this? Because I tried to give it back to her even as a 10 and she was just like, oh no, happy Mother's Day, you know? But I think
Wait, Mother's Day?
It was, yeah. She probably just like had won a bunch and was just like being generous or whatever, like drunk generous. But I thought it was so cute. I don't know why I loved her, but obviously she gave me $100. But you know when some people are just like,
yeah,
I feel like we could be friends. You'd be like the drunk friend I have that have to drive everywhere or something. She's just
like, I don't know why I loved her. Probably had something to do with the $100
to do with the mad cash she gave me, but there was something about her that was amazing.
Can't put my
She had a quality about her that just, I knew she was a good person. I kind of love when drunk people are like generous or extra sweet or something, because I'm like, being drunk takes away your inhibitions, and if you're still very generous or very like, I'm like, you have to be that like at your core, right? Because this is you without like a lot of cognitive ability, and she still just couldn't help but give stuff away. I was like, that's kind of cute.
I don't know if that would like, if that reveals what you really are.
Yeah,
or
I don't either. I've always assumed that, but I don't really know. Yeah.
I've heard that, like, because there was this girl I used to watch, a YouTuber, and she said that she used to drink all the time because she was shy and introverted, and drinking made her, like, fun and, like, extroverted.
Yeah.
wonder if it kind of changes your
Yeah, maybe
personality a
it's
little.
like that. Maybe she's like a total stingy biatch in real life.
The
Just kidding.
opposite.
That's funny. Well, I like her drunk, whoever she is.
There's a drunk lady that gave my friend's daughter $1 at the thrift store. I was there with her, and she's like, "That drunk lady just gave my daughter $1." I was like, "What?"
Kind, I guess. One whole farthing.
She's like, "Ah, okay, walking away now."
All right. There are drunk people handing my children money. Time to go.
She wasn't just drunk; she was like on something. So
Yikes.
that was scary. Like,
I know. I felt like I was like taking candy from a baby. That's why I tried to give it back to her because I was like, "Are you sure you want to give this away?" Yeah. She knew it was Mother's Day. She knew I was a mother, so she was kind of with it.
it'd be funny if she wasn't drunk at all.
Oh my gosh, that's just her personality. That would be amazing. That would be so funny. I'm like, she was so drunk. She would never have given to me this otherwise.
Anyway, what else did you like about it?
Let's
I feel
see.
like I've been sharing
What
all
about
my-
that podcast did I like?
What else did
There was a lot of stuff that Corey and I were listening to because we listened to it like not together but simultaneously, which is weird. But we were working on something, so we both had headphones on, and then we'd be like, "Did you hear that? Yeah."
Yeah.
There. So we were listening to it through the perspective of like sales because that's what he's in, and it's like. It was very counter to like the salesy sales that go on right now. Do you know what I mean? Like it was like the opposite of being super pushy and super scripted and super
way more effective.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, that was what was interesting. It talks about like reading people's personalities and then delivering them what they want the most. That was.
Do you remember what the personalities
I remember
were?
some
Like,
of them. So it was like, do you remember any of them?
No, I was just saying I wish I'd written them. But anyway, go ahead.
I can't remember what they're called, but there was one that was like, you want people's, you want worldly praise, I think. So like power, that was one of them. So one of the things you want is to know that you are in control and you have power. That's one of the categories. Another one is to know you're affecting the world in a good way. So like, making a difference. And then the other one was,
I can't remember what they were. Sorry, I'm like no help.
No, but I know one of them was mine, and it wasn't those two, and I can't remember now what it was. It was like, acceptance. So you want the herd to accept you. That was mine. So you talk in like those people because they say things like "we" all the time. Like if like how was your vacation? They're like, we went to this island and then we went on this boat and then they'll never say like their perspective through I. It's always we and they're group people and stuff. So
I feel like I do that when I'm nervous. Like if I'm talking to someone I don't really know, I tend to make it more we.
Sure.
Because it's like
it's easier. It's like not as committed to just you or whatever.
Yeah, maybe I'm kind of like I don't really know you yet, and so like if I say we, then I'm backed.
Yeah, there's probably truth to that. And he did say on there, he's like, all of this is subjective. You have to take it into account, like your circumstances, the person's personality, their culture, language barriers, all these different things. But once you can kind of figure out their patterns, then you can apply these principles and be like, okay, I see. Because if you did meet an introvert and he's like, oh, I noticed that she says we when she's shy, but when you get her talking, she really cares about making a difference or whatever. Yeah. You would know that's your category. Yeah. The other one was, so we have like power, making a difference in the world, herd acceptance, and then, shoot. What was the last one? Can't remember. I wish I could remember the other one. But anyway, there were 4, I'm pretty sure. And the point of that, though, is like once you know what somebody's value is, what they really want from the conversation and just from people in general, you feed it to them. But not insincerely, just like in a way that you can. So he said, if he was a salesman and he's like, if I was a salesman and I didn't have morals, I was just trying to sell you this and I didn't care. I'd say, most people in the world, they don't see a good opportunity. They don't know a good opportunity when they see it. Yeah. The really powerful people do. They're very rare, but they know this pen is the pen that they all use. Something like that. So he's not saying if you buy this, you'll be powerful, but automatically they're thinking if I buy that, I'm a powerful person. So he's like, you kind of feed them this narrative.
his body language would be like, if you're talking about them, so you kind of use your hands to be like, other people in the world, do this, and they're not as, as good a listener. I don't know what he said.
Us. Yeah.
He said, but you, and then he said the word stop is a really powerful word, and it makes you like immediately like stop and listen. So he was like, do you remember what he said about that? So he was like, I wish I could remember exactly, but he was like,
he tried to match his body language to his words, though. Really,
yeah,
really, at the end of the day, everyone needs to just go listen to it.
I know.
Yeah.
I tried to repeat it and I'm botching it.
Well, we both are. It's so good. It's so fascinating, and it will help. I was thinking about like my kids, because we were talking about there's kids who won't open up to me. Like,
Yeah.
how could we use these tactics to
Yeah.
get them to feel more comfortable or whatever, And
Well,
yeah.
Yes, I agree. I was listening on a parenting perspective as well because it's so on my mind.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think the title of the video should have been different because like the
Yeah.
title and then the guy's kind of connotation, like voice. What do you call that? I don't know.
His cadence.
Cadence. Yeah, cadence was kind of like almost boring. And then so like when it first started, I was kind of like, I don't really want to. And then the title was kind of like feeding this, like I don't want to listen to this. But after like 2 seconds of listening to what he's actually saying, because he doesn't really like. His cadence isn't, I don't know, he doesn't really like grab
Not
me with
excitable.
his voice. Yeah, but like once you listen to what he's saying, I'm like, holy crap, like he's got so much knowledge and it's really interesting. And so like
so much experience too.
It's just reading people and being able to use that to be successful in life, which everybody wants to be. So it's like it relates to everybody. So
by successful, they just mean successful relationships. Like you could talk to your spouse about a fight this way. You could talk to your kids who won't open up to you. You can persuade someone to buy something. It's like it's just trying to figure out what people value and then kind of giving them that in the conversation, It really is fascinating. I was very into it, and I really like that guy, probably because of his mannerisms. He's just not, there's not one pushy thing about him.
I know.
That was the other thing he said, which he probably is implementing himself. It's why like when you hear him talk, you're like, wow, I just like you. But he said confident people move slowly. Did you think that was so weird?
Okay, I've heard that. Where did I hear that? I can't remember. I just read it somewhere where like he said you can tell it was like a spy or somebody was saying when you go into a room, you can immediately tell who the leader is because they are fidgeting less. So it's like if you're trying to figure out like the ringleader of this mob group, if they're just like sitting there like with their drink and kind of slow and everyone else is kind of like looking around, he's like, that's the leader. You can almost tell like almost 100%. I thought that was really fascinating.
It's
I was like,
so fascinating.
To like fidget less. I do this thing where like if I'm like when I go to the bank, I like get really nervous. I don't know. So like, but they can only see, like this up, so I'll like have my like, foot going crazy because you can't see it. But like up here, I'm like, Anyway, I would withdraw somebody.
And anyway, I'm a little nervous. But yeah.
Anyway, it was nothing.
Well, so about that, I was just thinking he also said there's all these podcasts and things out there of like, put your shoulders back. And do you remember him saying that? And he's like,
yes.
I loved it. He said, if your environment, your finances, your body, and your...
Oh, you said environment. You said environment, finances, take care of yourself, and...
He actually said like your appearance, like hair or makeup, like...
You take care of yourself, your finances, your environment. There's one more. What was it?
Was it your mental?
No. Because it's like something that portrays subconsciously taking care of those things.
I think there are 4 categories. We're hitting on pretty good ones for not taking
notes.
Social. What?
It was social.
Social.
It was social. Yeah. So if you're taking care of
Okay, those. So if you're getting enough for you, because I think people would see that and be like, I don't socialize enough, right? But it's like if you're feeling fulfilled socially, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
So if all those categories are hit on, he said, you are not going to have to walk into a room like this. Like, he's like, you're going to feel the confidence from the inside out, and it's going to come out of your body language and your eyes, and there's no pretending that. And he said, if you don't have all those things in order and you walk in strutting, he's like, you're not going to fool anyone. You just look like a poser.
As, like, things off. Yeah.
And so, and I love that because I'm like, how true is that when they're just like, I always hated those like put shoulders back. I'm like, I guess, but maybe, and you know what? Maybe there's some psychology that will help you like want to move into confidence if you just start with your body. Because he did say your soul mimics your body or something like that. Like what you make your body do, your mind will follow. So so those two kind of contradict each other. So I do think there might be some merit to like starting there, but I think his point was like you don't just gain confidence by just putting your shoulders back, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
Well, because I have to constantly remind myself to
Right.
put my
It just
shoulders back, because
looks more.
I try to like out of habit, I try to appear small in every room that I'm in. So I'm always like doing this, or like my shoulders are hunched, or like I just don't want, I don't want to draw attention. So I'm like constantly having to be like, okay, it's okay, relax your shoulder. You don't have to be like, power stance or something, but just relax.
Shoulders
Anyway.
back, chest out, knees together.
Yes.
Walk.
Yes. Anyway, so but I don't know. I like doing those things, and I think it does help your mental, like you said, like when you put your shoulders back, you are kind of like, okay, I'm allowing people to approach me, and like,
yeah.
Anyway.
But yes, I agree with you. So there's probably both are true, but I really do like what he said. And then he said, people who are really successful, if he has everybody he works with, because he works with like CEOs and all these people to kind of help them get their lives in order so they can portray confidence, feel confident, and then persuade others to follow them, kind of thing. Like that's his job. He has like one-on-one clients. And he said he has them make a dopamine list. Where are you getting your dopamine from? Is it caffeine, YouTube? I'm like naming my dopamine list. Is it? But I mean, like I went through and I was like, and then, but he said really successful people have a very healthy dopamine list. So it's
what
not
is a healthy?
So I was thinking about that. I would imagine, I don't know, but I'd imagine exercise, right? Like you're getting dopamine from exercise. I would imagine like completing a project. That's very healthy dopamine list. Reading, like you can get a really good like dopamine hit from reading if you enjoy
Maybe
the book.
working a hobby that you love.
A hobby, whatever. But if your dopamine is something that is one, I would say like endless, because YouTube, there's no satisfaction to it. You can watch it for literally ever. There's never an end, and there's no accomplishing anything, and you're learning a little bit, but it's not like engaging your brain in a really proactive way. So I'd imagine that's a pretty unhealthy dopamine.
Well, I loved what he said about that too with the social media. He's like, I am a body language expert, maybe the best in the world, and I am not immune to what social media does to me. And as far as body language, he's like behavior analysis, like why would anyway. So
he knows the tricks and he's still being tricked.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting. I was like, he's like, so yeah, probably avoid it or limit it.
Yeah.
Severely.
I would say like, at least for me, because I know my personality, I think for me, I have to just start with like, I'm only allowing myself on YouTube for an hour tonight to wind down. And then that's it, instead of like 3 hours of doom scrolling or whatever it is that I like to do. I have all kinds of weird things I like to do on YouTube. I'm like really addicted to it, but that sounds weird. I don't do weird things on YouTube. I just mean like has like hobbies. I like to like listen to it while I project or doom scroll or like go down rabbit holes or like I just YouTube is like my place. I just love it.
It's like Google but videos.
Yeah.
So it's like you can
it's so visual and so interactive, and then there's comments and I don't know. And it seems to be a little more intelligent than Instagram, and definitely more intelligent than TikTok. So it's like you can get all kinds of stuff on there, which maybe none of it's valid. I mean, I don't know, but I just love it. It's just an endless source of knowledge. And anyway, and then when I was like listening to it and drinking a soda, and I went outside and dumped my soda out. I was like, I don't want to get my dopamine from this anymore. Corey was like, oh my gosh. But I really, it was interesting. It's like, what's your dopamine list? And then if you have an unhealthy dopamine list, the likelihood of you being successful at the things you do isn't very high, and just as successful in life. But I was thinking too, like alcohol, drugs, porn, these are all going to be like really unhealthy on the dopamine side, but pretty common out in the world. You know what I mean? So when we say like YouTube, people are like, like that. But that's still, to me, there are better things you could do.
Yeah, YouTube sounds intelligent. I've heard people be like, well, that's not that bad of a thing to be addicted to, because it sounds like YouTube videos, you learn how to make stuff. I'm like, I'm not like on there like learning about psychology. I'm on there like watching the dumbest like
makeup tutorial or like people fall on their face. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, it can be really stupid. So So for sure, and it's just, it can just be really addictive too, which is not good. But
It was really interesting that he said he has them do that app where you change your face to look like an old person, and then he said he has his clients print off a picture of that and put it up so that they're constantly thinking of their future self. I thought that was so weird. I was
that
like, I don't know if I could do that.
oh, I want to.
Like,
Everything he says, I'm like, I'm copying you, because he uses
well,
like,
and the like reverse
yeah,
psychology of like putting, what did he say? He
negative
said put,
quotes up.
yeah, like things that you don't want, so that your brain, so he said the difference between a confident person and a non-confident person is a confident person has the thought of like,
Positive outcomes.
I can't jump that hurdle.
Yep.
And they recognize it as false. Whereas the incompetent person's like, I really can't jump that hurdle.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so he's like, if you can put up this sign in your room that says something like, I don't deserve money, you start training yourself like, that's kind of silly. Like that's false. And you start training your brain that that's wrong. And then it helps you be confident. I thought that was so cool. I was like, I'm just
weird.
I
Well,
mean, I have
yes.
negative things all over my room.
Yeah. You're ugly. You have no confidence.
Picture me in like when I'm 80.
Everyone's like, what is going on here? Oh, I'm brainwashing myself. Don't worry about it. It's a really frightening image. That's funny. But his point was, and he is, like I said, if he wasn't an expert and he didn't actually do this for a living, I would be like, oh, really, guy? Like, but they actually use brainwashing techniques in intelligence agencies, I guess, and he said they really work. So I'm like, whatever you tell me to do, I'm gonna do it. But I think he said like kind of like the point of those is not necessarily negative things, yes, negative, but like ridiculous things, like your body could never gain that much muscle, like something stupid that's like, or like,
Silly.
yeah, you're the only person on the planet whose body can't, lift 100 pounds. You just be like, obviously that's not true. It has to be like, obviously that's not true, or else it will kind of like make you sad.
Yeah.
But if you can look at it as ridiculous, then it's the right thing to put on your wall.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I do find that really interesting, the future self, just because I've heard this thing long ago that we put our children into daycares when they're young, societally. I'm not like shaming anyone. This is just like our society's thing. So like our kids go away from the home relatively young, to daycares and then preschool and all that stuff. And then our old people go into old folks' homes generally, not every time. But their point was that culturally we're very different that way, where a lot of people will have multiple generations in one home.
Yeah.
And there's problems with that too, but they said they're very in tune with the future and the past because they have these little children around them, and they have their grandparents or great grandparents with them. So they have this tie to both. And they said Americans are some of the only ones that live very much in the present. We're so present focused, and which is why we're very successful. Like we're driven and we want to work, and it's just the next big thing that we've accomplished, but no ties to past or present or past or future. Anyway, I've just thought about that. That's so fascinating. That actually is good for our development as adults too, to have these older and younger people in our lives, whatever that means to you. If you have to use daycare, it just means like staying in contact with them. You know what I mean? Because some people, it's like you don't see your little kid ever hardly, and then your old people, you don't even, you visit them once a week. But trying to just keep that connection alive is what's important. So I thought that was interesting.
That is really interesting.
So it kind of goes along with that idea that putting an old picture up of yourself is going to tie you,
Yeah, sure. That is interesting.
So maybe that's what children do, rather than an old picture of yourself. Like you do all these weird, hard, difficult things because they are your future, so having them with you as a reminder all the time might keep that goal in mind. I don't know.
He said, I liked when he said when you're arguing with someone or your significant other or whatever, instead of, so he said the worst thing you can do is when they're telling you their list of complaints is to interrupt them and correct them on their list of complaints. So like for example, if I'm Chancey and I'm like, you I don't know what, you lost the keys and you lost the phone and you lost it, whatever, instead of being like, I didn't lose the keys, or and interrupting and being like correcting, you have to let them get it all out first. And then he said, and then I try, and this is what he said, I try and figure out the common end goal, I guess. So he's like, we're trying to figure this, like, what is it that you want to end up with from this conversation? Pretty loud discussion. And
Conversation.
and what do I want to end up with? And so then you kind of can have this common ground or whatever. Anyway,
Okay.
I thought
that is really interesting.
Picture how that would work. But I think I like the letting them get it all out first. I was like, I could do that. I don't know that I'd be like, let's have a and win-win scenario here.
The only win-win here is from me. What is that when he says meh? I can't remember. We quote it all.
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No, he's like meh. I can't remember now. Where did we get that? We quote it all the freaking time. Oh, it's from Psych. Sean says all the time. He's like meh. And anyway, we're gonna just say it. Yeah, I the funny thing is, like, Corey and I I think every time I podcast, I'm like, Corey and I just had an argument. We argue all the time, but they're always like short, but we always we have an argument a lot. Yeah. But we were just arguing last night, and like we both kind of saw the other side. Like, we were like, I can understand that, but both of us were like, and yet full bore. Because after we woke up, we were both like, why were we fighting like that? That was so stupid. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. So I think, like, anytime someone's like, here's a great tactic for your marriage, just find a common ground. Okay, that's a really good idea, guy. It is, actually. But the real problem is not that you don't know that. It's that you both have so much pride. It's like I don't want to. I don't want to have a common goal. I want to railroad this guy.
Like, what's the common goal is I'm right.
The common goal is that I win or you're on the couch. No, I'm just kidding.
In that Raymond episode of when the wife is PMSing, she like tries to buy her PMS pills. I was like weeping, laughing. He was like, I just wanted to tell you, like, you sound you're just like a little different. And she's like, I'm not different, you know. And like, he's like, I recorded you so that I could show you what you're like. What's recorded? She's like, but like, she's such a good actress too. But she's like,
she's so funny.
Like, I just noticed that the lint was left in the dryer, and I don't know why you have to leave it in there. It's not that hard to do. He's like, He's like, I know that you have this problem right now because you're not thinking clearly. She's like,
I'm like, what's funny about this guy? He's not wrong. He's not wrong. I should try to find a way to implement that. But when you're in that moment, probably the best thing to do is just like step away for a sec and then come back for common goal, because there's no reasoning with me when I'm in that state. And Corey too. Like, we both get into these mad states.
More mad when Chase Hughes tries to like conflict resolve.
Oh yeah. I'm like, oh, you think you're above this? I'll make you mad.
Yeah, he'll totally be like, interesting. Let's think of this from and I'm like, interesting this.
I'll wake you up inside. You self-help book.
You walking self-help.
Yeah. Oh. There is something to arguments where you kind of do want to pull each other down to like your level of anger or pride, whatever that is. If you can not give into it, that would be very powerful.
Well,
but it's hard. Both of us we trade roles there, me and Corey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, sometimes Chancey will he'll apologize immediately, and it makes me so mad. I'll be ready to lay in, I don't even know what. Yeah, he'll just like, oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm like, well, that's not fun, you big idiot.
Well, Corey will be like, I'm sorry. Want to make love? And I'm like, what? Give me like 5 minutes.
When you're mad, let's
make up. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. I need some time. Not saying that doesn't happen, you know, in marriage at some point, but I'm like, geez, 5 seconds, please. Like, I'm still mad for no reason. Like, it's just in there.
I know sometimes like I'll find out like he didn't even
Do
say
what
that.
you
Like
thought. Yes.
I
I
thought
hate
he
that. That's
was,
worse because you're just
or
mad.
and like then but I'm still mad, and I'm
No.
like it just like he's like, you're still mad at me, like I didn't even say that. I'm like, I know, but just give me like 30 minutes and it'll be cleared out of the system.
Perception is reality. I don't care if you said it. I thought you did.
Like when you have bad dreams that you
Yeah.
argue with me, and I'm like wake up so mad.
Yeah.
You're like, that was a dream.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Yep. I have like 9 times out of 10, my bad dreams are about Corey doing something like really out of character. Like
You always
just
the bad guy in your dreams. I wonder
always.
if that's gonna get like psychologically diagnosed one day in the future.
I
But
don't
like,
know. That's how
like
that's how you are too.
yeah, like he's always like stopping my progress. Like
Yes.
it's like I'm trying to like do something and he's stopping me.
You know what? That's probably just the frustrations of marriage coming out because there's truth to that. Like your spouse is going to like stop and help you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, like we said, like when they go out of town or whatever, you're kind of like, no one can stop me from
whatever
anything.
I want. Yeah, you sound like little oppressed wives or something. Like,
I know. I was gonna say,
we can eat whatever
I was gonna say,
we like.
It's not like he's always telling me what to do. It's just when you're married, you do have to like. He has to ask me for stuff too all the time. Like, can I go? Do you care if I go do this?
You're always accountable to somebody. Always.
Yes. And if you're a good husband or a good wife, you are like, do you care if I go do this tonight with these guys? You know, you're just like, I'm leaving because I can do what I want.
Oh,
like, anyway.
No, I think it's healthy when it goes both ways for sure. But
I've actually heard, and I don't know if this is accurate, but that it's healthy to leave your spouse for like not all the time, but I can't even remember how long they said, but like a couple times a year for a couple days of just like just get away and like see what happens. You're gonna come back like so happy to see each other and like go have some friends, go fun with some girlfriends, go do something like completely you want to do that your spouse doesn't like, and like it's really good for you to do that and come back and just hang out together.
I think it's so healthy. It's Brock who always told me that. He's like, it's good to miss. I'm like, that's so true. It's like he said, and his philosophy is like, this is our brother-in-law. I'm quoting him like he's a self-help book, but he's pretty quotable. He's a wise guy.
Is that word philosophist?
It's a philosophist. I actually don't know. Philosopher. We shall be philosophers, Marianne. He said it's good to miss, and I can't remember what was that. I don't remember. But anyway, you can't know how much you love and miss someone unless they go away for a minute, you know? Like,
how can I miss you if you never go away?
Yeah. I love it. Corey and I probably like one a year each. We each take like a trip with girls or boys and go do something. But if he wants to go golfing or go, I don't know, he went to like Boston with a bunch of his friends. I'm like, sure, like just go. Because I hate it. I hate when he's gone. I love having him here, but at the same time it's like, yeah, I can feel that that's good for him and good for me, and I don't know, I just like it.
I've found that encouraging Chancey and his hobbies over the years has been
sound like Charlotte.
What'd you say?
Sound like Charlotte and Mr. Collins. Just kidding.
I like to encourage him to work in the garden as much as possible.
I admit I encourage him in that as well. Anyway, keep going.
I found that when he's gone, I just mean like it comes back to benefit me just in that if I ever want to go anywhere, he's like sure, and he's very willing to take the kids and like cook dinner and do everything to keep the house running while I'm gone. And it just like it comes back because I know a lot of I used to do this myself, but a lot of wives get frustrated when the husband wants to do something outside the home because they're always gone at work. And so then it's like, you're just going to leave again? Like, I'm with these kids. And like,
take the kids with you.
There's some real like frustration there that needs to be worked out. But I do think that like working all the time is difficult and like,
it's not a break.
Doing your own hobby is healthy and it comes back to benefit you. And like one of the things that we used to argue about when we were first married is Chancey's like, you can go do your own hobbies, you know, like go for it. And I just didn't have any. Like I was like young and I was like, I don't know. you're just leaving me. And he's like,
Yeah.
go do something.
Like he
I don't know.
was your hobby. He's like, no, that's not
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
He's like, no, you can't do that. Go find something.
Yeah.
Anyway, and now that I have friends and I'm like planning stuff and doing stuff, I feel so much healthier and less like
Less
he's
needy.
happier,
Yeah.
I'm happier. Yeah, it's just like it's benefit all.
Yeah, I agree
Anyway.
with you. I think that when you don't want your spouse off doing stuff, you probably have some codependency. Obviously, if there's like issues there, or they're gone too much, or they don't demonstrate their love or whatever, there's gonna be things like that. But when people are like, no, you can't go. I'm like, there has to be some insecurity there.
Yeah, I think so. I do understand it. I think it's oh, this one broke, honey. It broke.
Justin did that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
Fixing it too.
Aw.
Sorry, sweetheart. We can maybe glue it later. She's like so sad.
Aw. Get duct tape it.
Yeah.
You don't know. Kids are dumb. I'm just kidding.
Get them all. Forgot everything I was saying.
Anyway, yeah, I think it's good to encourage your spouse in their hobbies. I was thinking that the two things I've noticed that women do to mess up their own lives is not allow their husbands some freedom. Like their husband is responsible for their own entertainment and their happiness, and that's not good. Obviously, again, like we said, too much is too much, yeah. But like now and then is great. And then the other thing they do is expect perfection when their husband's turn is to take over the house and the kids and stuff. And who's going to volunteer for those conditions? You know what I mean? Like you never let me go when it's my turn, and then when you want to go, you expect to come home to everything being perfect. And I do understand, and Corey and I have talked about this. I'm like, I do not care if the house is vacuumed and scrubbed and like, but I was like, straightened and wiped is nice. Like,
not like mom is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's just not. And I told them and my kids, like, I sat them down one time and I was like, it feels like you guys are disrespecting me when you leave your stuff out. Like in your mind, you're saying, oh, mom, the maid will just pick this up, you know? And so to me, it's not about me having to serve you. It's about me feeling taken advantage of and feeling disrespected. And they were like, oh, like, I didn't know that's what it was doing. Yeah. Cause I was like, it's more the emotion of it to me than the action. I'd serve you all day if I felt it was the right thing, but this doesn't feel right. Like, you guys can clean up after yourselves, you know? So I think, like, if we're a little, you know, like they should have it straightened, I guess, and not look a pigsty for you. But if they're going to clean it their way and take care of the kids their way and you're going to complain, they're not going to volunteer to help with that, you know? They're going to be reluctant. So I think women kind of shoot themselves in the foot sometimes and then can't figure out why their husbands don't want to do anything for them.
Well, yeah, and I think it makes them want to be home more when you allow them
to be a human.
To be a human, yeah, to have their own hobbies and their own, because they're like, oh, like, I want to be with you because, like, you
see me.
We always call Brock like he's like a freaking philosopher, but he kind of is.
Brock,
So
I don't think you're that cool.
You're not that smart. He is really smart.
He is.
Anyway, but he always said that, like, you have to allow your spouse autonomy.
Yeah.
And if that means they want to scroll on their phone and and do nothing else, they're an adult. You cannot control that. And that has always rang in my head. And like, I think communicating is really important, but also they're an adult and you can't stop them from doing that. So it's like, okay, if you're going to do that, I'm going to go do, and not like bitterly, like, oh, I'm going to go scrub this and see how you like it.
Go clean. Yeah.
Like, go find something that you actually enjoy. And like, basically it comes down to becoming your own person. Like we talked about at the beginning, and gaining confidence from within or from God or whatever, rather than from your spouse. Cause it's not healthy. It's not fair to put that on them.
That's a big burden for a human to take care of your needs and theirs.
It is. Yeah. It is. And I actually lean that way. I lean very like codependent and very victim minded. And like, as far as like wanting to be rescued and like, do this for me.
That's
and like,
not really true of you, but
no, it is. You don't know what goes on inside my head. Anyway. And anyway, so I just think that, well, I would say when I go through spurts of like major unhappiness, it's usually because I've given up some sort of power. I'm in victim mode.
Your expectations are,
but when I go through periods of really, sadness or I'm just completely unhappy, it's usually because I'm expecting Chancey or somebody else to come and
rescue
save me
you.
and fix it.
Yeah.
I do lean that way, just maybe not 24/7, but
Yeah, I know what you mean. You just make yourself sound like a spoiled brat, and you're not. But
yeah,
I get what you mean. Like if left to your own devices with no self control, that's what you
yeah,
do. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that image of rowing in your own boat side by side instead of in a double canoe, like
hmm
trying to get each other to paddle and sink
yeah.
is a really interesting one. It's kind of controversial. Some people,
Like, so you're
especially,
saying that you should go in the same one, or should
no, you
be
should
off?
be in your own boats.
Yeah,
That's like the idea is like you're both headed to a common goal, but if your spouse wanders off this way for a minute and then this way and then comes back, like you just keep paddling true. You know what I mean? And hopefully, and this guy in the passionate marriage says if you are living a certain standard, if your spouse is any kind of a normal human, they're almost always going to try and match you. Like they can't not, especially like if you're naggy or whatever, or judgy or anything, they're gonna feel that there will be some pushback, and that's what's
yeah.
going on there if they're not matching you. But he's like, you really do just leave them alone. They'll be afraid
They
of getting
will.
left behind, and they will catch
Yeah,
up. And so I
they
was
will.
like,
Yeah,
that's a really interesting concept because I've noticed that with Corey too. If he does something like cooler than me, where he's like progressing beyond me, there's kind of this thing where you're like, well, I don't want you
yeah,
to like get so cool that I can't, you're not attracted to me anymore, or like I'm out of
yeah,
you're out of my league. So I'm like, okay,
yeah.
like I just, you catch up. And so
Yeah, it's
yeah,
true.
if you can really truly leave each other alone, not like, well, here I am working out, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
really truly I'm doing this for me, they'll catch up to you.
it's
Yeah, and
true.
vice versa.
I would say that happens in our marriage as far as like me with physical. I work out more, but Chancey is very much more spiritually disciplined,
Yeah.
and that is always inspiring to me because he doesn't really push me, but he's constantly like, I'm just going to read my scriptures right now.
Corey
I pray
too.
first thing in the morning for like 30 minutes,
I
and like I'm
know.
anyway. He's just very much more
Spiritually
spiritually
minded.
disciplined than I am,
Yeah.
and it does make me want to catch up. I'm like, okay, I don't know. I want
Same.
to try.
There's something of like an example so much more powerful than a nag just pushing you from behind.
Yeah,
Someone who's up ahead who can like give you the arm up is going to be way more
yeah, just
helpful.
help you instead of
Uh-huh.
nag you
To
to
nagging,
death.
yeah. And I
Yeah,
think we do that in our marriages, like not we, but the royal we, inadvertently too. Like you can nag your spouse by just judging them in your head.
yes,
They know. They know if you're like looking
yep,
down on them. And both Corey and I have experienced this on both sides, like where the other one's like, you know, and it's not helpful. And we've talked about
no,
that. Like we
it's
have
not, and
to.
it's sorry, I interrupted
Well,
you.
I was gonna say you have to allow you have to have faith in the process that if you allow them some freedom and at first they're not gonna do great things or whatever, or maybe never. Your goal isn't to control them; it's to control your life. You're just gonna
Yeah,
be happier all around.
yes, yeah. Well, I was gonna say like it's so much more freeing for you um to not judge them. It's kind of like you're carrying this
Yeah.
weight. Is like carrying this weight of I have to make sure that you are doing
Oh,
everything
you're right.
perfectly. And so like you're first of all trying to make sure you're doing everything perfectly, and then you're like trying to make sure your spouse, who is a grown adult, do everything perfectly. It's exhausting. Like it really is. And so if you just like completely let it go, like flush it down the toilet,
Yep.
it's so freeing.
Yes.
It's like I'm in charge of you,
Yes.
not even a little bit.
No.
And it's like,
why do we think we are? It's such a weird thing to like
I
enter.
think as women, we're especially
Wired
moms,
to do that
we're
with our
taking
kids.
care of our kids, and we are in charge of them. And so it's like you're like I'm in charge of them and them and them and this and you, and you're like, oh no,
I know
not.
you're the adult. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah, yeah.
I was like, I'll get it. He'll ask me if I'll like get him a drink, and I'm like, sure. And every time I bring it back, like a quarter full. I do that to the kids all the time.
Don't spill.
He's like, thanks.
Do you want a fruit snack?
I can't get out of the habit. It's like another kid to take care of. Like, don't spill.
That's hilarious. I love it. It's true. Yeah, I think this took us down a really interesting rabbit hole, but I like
Yeah,
it.
it did.
Food for
Me
thought.
too.
I need to do some tweaking
Lots
in
of.
my marriage and parenting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We're just talking about this like ideas, not like we're experts.
We're pretty much experts.
If anyone's gained anything from this, it's that we're not experts.
Oh, everyone in this entire town knows that me and Corey struggle because every time we have a fight, it's in public. We don't mean to, but it just keeps happening. What'd you say?
One of the funniest fight we had.
Yes.
It's so embarrassing. So at Thanksgiving,
Oh, yeah.
I was like, we were like the Thanksgiving drama.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah.
I'm kidding. It really wasn't
Yeah.
that bad, because the Holts are so chill. But like, so like, we had this like, the setting was like a sitcom. Like, it was so embarrassing. So they had this like big old table to where the food was, and you had to walk around the table to get your food. So it's like this big circle.
Yeah.
And they had a whole bunch of extra people, not just the Holts. Chancey, we're having this, first of all, silent battle of where the gravy should go. I was like, why is the gravy over by the turkey? It needs to be by the potatoes. And so I was just gonna move it. And he's like, no, like, he was very opinionated. It needs to be by the turkey because everyone wants gravy on their turkey. And I was like, no, they want it on their potatoes. Anyway, so first it was silent, and then it got like not silent. I mean, his mom involved, and I was like, she's like, oh, it should go on the potatoes. And I was like, and he was like, no. And he starts doing these like calculations, engineering, like, if you go this way and then clockwise this way, then it makes sense to have it over here. And I was like, that's stupid. We don't do math at Thanksgiving. So we did this huge battle, and like, we would sit down and we were like whisper fighting. And I was like, well, you just sit down in front of your family.
Give me your gravy if you don't want it.
I was freaking out. We're just like silent. Like, I didn't even taste Thanksgiving food because I was so mad.
So good.
After like we calmed down and everything, I was like, I can't fight with you. I'm so embarrassed.
Over gravy placement. That's the best thing I've ever heard. Oh.
Typical, like, you've been married more than 10 years fight.
110. That's the most relatable. Oh, we're fighting this out.
Ow.
This is a matter of life and death.
I've gotten a lot more vocal over the years too, where like before I'd kind of be like, oh, you know, like, I don't want to cause a fight. Now I'm like,
works.
Kidding.
If you're the kind of person that puts gravy on their meat, then I don't even know if we can be married. The things that you like turn into a moral issue are so funny in marriage. Like this matters so deeply where you want the gravy on the table. I don't even know if I can look at you if you want it on your potatoes. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what happens, but we fight over crap like that too, and it will turn into like the biggest battles. And we're like, what was it about? Like, I don't know how we shut the car door. Oh, my face hurts. Oh.
Anyway, that's a bad one. It was really embarrassing because we usually don't like fight in public. We fight, but we don't fight in public. I was like, I didn't even care who was there. I was like, we're doing this.
I think like the more not combative, but like you said, like you stick up for yourself and stuff. Not that public fighting's good. I wish I was better at avoiding that. But I really do not like to let fights like slide. Like if it's like I'm moving the gravy, I don't like it because it'll sit inside of me and then I'll build up resentment for him and then I like won't even know why or whatever. So we battle out everything like the moment it comes up, and I know it exhausts him because he's like, oh my gosh. But I'm like, it's either that or you have a resentful life. Like, I don't want to always like sit here and harbor feelings for you that I don't. I like to think well of you, and I can't if I have even like a gravy battle in my head, you know. So I'm like, there's no space in there for like tiny little things. So we've had a few public fights that have been like we've had like people in our community involved on accident, but just like the way it worked out, everyone thinks that they think I'm like extremely volatile, which I am volatile, but I'm not like as extreme as they think I am. And they think I'm like kind of borderline abusing Corey. And I'm that's not even kind of close to how it's going. But because of like the public view we've given people a few times, I'm like, I don't even blame them for thinking that. Like, and there's been so many like weird moments that people just catch us and we're like, yeah, we're fighting really good right now.
Oh, that's so funny.
Well, it's a good place to end.
Well, I was gonna say, I feel like the mature thing to do, like I was like, if I were really mature, like just really like just naturally mature, like I would probably like just let him do what he wanted because it doesn't matter.
Right.
Then afterwards,
Talk to
tell him very calmly, like, this is how it made me feel,
Right.
and that's frustrating him, like because potatoes and gravy.
It hurt my feelings a lot when you tried to put it on your meat.
Oh, but you put that on YouTube. Anyway,
you know what's so funny about that too is like you could have just gotten 2 gravy pourers and it would have solved everything. No, this has to go right here. You get your own gravy.
When you're just mad and not being mature.
100. I'm not even kind of pretending I would have thought of that. I am the worst public fighter ever. I just think that's hilarious.
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, that might be where we end. I feel like I shared like way too much of myself.
It's fine. It's fine.
I'll go back and edit it and decide if I want to.
You're not the one who still lives in the small town where people are watching you, so I'm like, hey, do you watch my podcast? Hey, you. There's a lot revealed on here, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm like, what can they do? Be mad at me? I guess. Like, sure.
Yes. Anyway.
Okay. Bye, Mal. This was very interesting. Let's do an outro. Go ahead, outro.
Okay. Thanks for listening.
I guess. Losers.
I guess. You can follow us on YouTube if you want to watch the video, or Spotify has a video, or just listen to us on Apple Podcasts, or follow us on Instagram,
Facebook, TikTok. We're on all the things. We are kind of like slowly getting things uploaded because we're behind, but we're getting there. We're all going to be caught up, and then
very caught up on the podcast side of things. So if you want to, be caught up, YouTube, we're a little slower, but we'll get there. And is that all?
I think so. Yeah, go over to Spotify and listen to every episode because there's some fun ones. We have like 7 now, something like that.
Oh, sweet.
We have a lot. Like, going through and trying to get them on YouTube, I'm like, I got to get ahead so it doesn't bury me. It's fun, though. I really enjoy it. It's just, it takes a minute, but anyway.
Yeah. I was going to say, too, if you disagree or agree, or you want to just share something below, go ahead and leave a comment. Just keep it respectful if you would.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, honestly, we'd love people to duke it out in the comments, as long as you're not like, you're ugly and you're fat and you're stupid. Let's say nice things, like respectful things.
Yeah. But one of my favorite things is that, what is that game called? We played at the family reunion where you like argue with each other.
Yeah. I never got to play it, but yeah, I know.
Yeah. Anyway, it's really fun. So I like doing it. Just, try and be, respectful of each other.
It is interesting to hear other people's perspectives. And like one of my favorite pastimes in the world is to get on YouTube and comment my disagreements with people. So
I know.
I'm like, I don't mind it. Just, let's try and be civil. We do want to create a culture on here where even like the commenters are feeling safe from getting buried and being treated like crap, so let's be nice to each other.
Too bad we have to leave. I just thought of everything to say. We need to go. But I just thinking, did you watch Wicked?
Yes, I did.
So,
did you love it?
Did you not love it?
Well, okay, hold on. I really, 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 really wish that I had not listened to, watched, or read any of the celebrity gossip behind it, because Ariana Grande, like how there's like Anne Hathaway that we're always bagging on. I'm not kidding you when I say Ariana Grande ranks above Andrew Tate for me in how much I dislike her. I think she is one of the smarmiest, grossest, most fake, annoying celebrities I know. I cannot stand her. And she's like a home wrecking, husband grabbing slut, and everyone knows that. But she's proud of it, and it's so gross. Like, she'll write songs about how she steals people's husbands, and she's real nasty. And this one where she stole this, that she hooked up with her co-star or whatever in this, and his high school sweetheart divorced him, and they have a baby and all this stuff. Anyway, she's just like, I love him. That's her answer to everything. Just like, I'm a fairy princess, and I just want to be like, whoa, I can't with her.
She's just very dead and her soul.
She seems like she's soulless. Yeah.
Because there's like, I was watching this interview, and it's weird because she's hilarious. She's like a
She
hilarious
is. She's
actor.
quick. Yeah.
She's quick-witted. She's
Mhm.
funny. She can do any impersonation on the planet. And then you get her in an interview, and it's almost like she
She's
takes on
dumb.
this persona of like, everyone can tell it's fake, like immediately.
Her
Like,
little
why?
voice like this, everyone
If
makes
you're
fun of
such a
it.
good actress, why not portray someone likable?
If you're gonna take on an alter ego, at least make it likable.
Anyway, but maybe she thinks she is being, but like, I was watching her eyes when she was giving Drew Barrymore this like over the top
Oh
compliment.
my
You know?
gosh. You're like press tour with this thing.
They were like shifting and like they just look dead. Like I was like, I think there's not a soul back there.
Yeah, I
Maybe
think
I don't
so
know.
too. Yeah.
I make wonder what happened to her because I'm like, there's something broken in there.
She definitely, there's all these allegations of like creepy producers abusing her and like, so stuff like that went on. My frustration with her, and I guess I shouldn't judge her, but my frustration is that there are a lot of people who went through that with her, like a lot of child stars that didn't end up being horrible humans, like I feel like she's made a series of choices that has just led her to the point where she doesn't have anything left in there. And I don't know why. So that is sad. I don't know the reason, but it was really hard for me to watch that show and not just like hate her. Like I just hated her so bad. I was like, she's just yucky. And I knew too much, but I was talking to Corey about it. I'm like, this is like really getting to me, obviously, but also it's like I don't like when people do I'm Satan's spawn, but I'm pretending to be a sweet little angel. If you're Satan's spawn and you just own it, I kind of like you. At least, like, I respect that you own it. The fact that she's like, makes me, like, so crazy. I can't even, those are my least favorite people on the planet. I've always had a problem with people like that. So, yeah. She gives me the willies. I do not like her.
Yeah.
And so watching her on film was really hard. It was hard to separate those.
Funny.
Yeah.
I watched the interviews of her and Cynthia, whatever, and it was so cringy and weird.
Yeah.
I wished I hadn't before I watched the movie, but I could kind of separate it once I watched because the performance was so good that I was like, all right, I can just put it aside. I thought they did amazing. My only critique of the whole thing, because I loved everything, like I honestly did. Like I don't know that I'd change. There was a few things that I thought the Fierro guy was kind of like half gay, which was like
he's gay in real life.
His character, yeah. So I was like, why?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I just was like, I don't know if he was meant to play a gay guy, that's one thing, but he was supposed to be straight, so I was really like confused.
You weren't getting he wasn't acting well enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, no, something's not something.
That's so funny because I kind of got that vibe too. I didn't know he was gay. It was just like I'm getting zero chemistry between him and Elphaba, like negative chemistry. I thought it was because she's so crazy in real life that he's like, I just cannot feel attraction. But yeah, he's gay, so he wasn't attracted.
Yeah. Anyway, but then the other thing was like I felt like Cynthia was like amazing. I loved her voice. I thought when she turned kind of like determined and like angry, she was a really good actress. But when she was like playing the like, I'm just like
she wasn't that sweet, right? Yeah.
Like, okay.
I agree with you.
All right, my kids are all.
Oh no, we're talking about Wicked. I have so much to say. Let's do another podcast on it.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Sorry. Yeah.